Okay, we ready?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna go ahead and.
Recording in progress.
Hey, Gabe.
Hey there. Recording in progress.
All right. Y'all can see most everyone that's in here. There we go. All right. And we're- Almost pulled it out of the wall. Unfortunate. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna ask you, the first thing I always ask you, how is the script practice going? How are the scripts? Are you actually script practicing? Are you actually making phone calls or text messages or whatever? Are you contacting people? Don't everybody volunteer at the same time.
No one makes eye contact. I'm texting, calling, haven't been scripting as much as I did the first week.
Okay,
I agree, I'm with our name.
okay. So,
Put
this
my
is,
scripts in some sleeves.
there you go. So, this is not directed at anyone in particular at all. But if you tell me that I'm making some phone calls, but I'm nervous about saying the wrong thing, or I'm nervous about they're gonna ask me a question I don't know how to answer, or how should I word this? That's what scripting is for. Again, the scripts that we gave you, some of them, normal people don't talk like that. That's okay. But read the script, practice the script, make it your own, make it words that you're actually gonna say. Because I remember a couple weeks ago, some of y'all were out there practicing and you stopped and you're like, what's this word even mean? Okay, that's fine. Make it your own, but you can't make it your own if you don't ever look at the scripts and you don't ever practice it. So I know I'm harping on the scripts, but the best way for you to make phone calls or Facebook messages or text messages or whatever is for you to have the confidence that you know what the hell you're talking about. And the best way to do that is to actually know what the heck you're talking about. And practice these scripts. Okay? So if it's one of those situations where your script partner is kind of flaking on you, change them up. Switch to someone else. You guys are here. We got 3 people on Zoom. So make some phone calls, some text messages. If you don't know, like for example, if you don't know Gabe's phone number or email or whatever, then hit up Ashley, she can get it for you. She can look it up in her computer, she can look up everyone's phone number and email address in the computer and really quick. So, okay? And Jack will get you the scripts that we're talking about, okay? If you don't have them already. Stephanie sent out, it's been 3 weeks or so, but Stephanie sent out a couple of forms that were scripts, and then one of them was 14 pages long, and the other one was like 45, 50 pages. So between the two, it should cover everything that you're gonna have. It's gonna cover everything from a buyer saying, well, why do I have to get pre-approved right now? Why can't we just look at houses? To a seller telling you, why should I use a realtor, you guys are basically worthless. So, and you're gonna hear all that. And everything in between. You're gonna hear some weird questions that isn't on the scripts, but the scripts covers most of the stuff that you're gonna hear. Okay, so next week, we're gonna have, as long as they show up. Next week, we're gonna have Crystal coming in, and she's gonna talk about social media compliance. So basically, when you're sharing a post on social media or you're marketing yourself with your business account or your personal account or whatever, she's gonna have an hour-long class in our time to maybe share ideas on what you can share, and mostly compliance. It's laws, photos, words that you have to have, stuff like that, that makes it all legal and in compliance with the real estate commission and our office policies. And then also next week, because of, through my conversations with several of you guys, I talked to Marcy, and next Wednesday, here at the office, so that's the 10th, there is a business planning class with GPS. And GPS is a system that Keller Williams uses and everything like that. So it is, it's a way for you to set your business goals for the year, and then the week, and then obviously the day. So if some of y'all are still struggling with, well, I don't know what to set my goals on. And sometimes you just gotta get your feet wet and figure things out before you can set a realistic goal, because day one, every one of you can come in here and say, oh, I want to sell $100,000, I want to make $100,000. Well, $100,000 is doable, but it may not be realistic for you. A more realistic goal may be selling 25 houses. Or a more realistic goal, maybe 65 houses, who knows? But this is what this business plan class is going to help you figure out, how to set your goals, how to do, and then once you set the goals, how do you get to that point? And that's what we're doing in here also. But this class that Marcy's having it's an hour and a half long, I believe. And it is going to be all about that.
What time is it again? Is it Wednesday? Maybe we should probably on the top.
It is not on my cheat sheet here.
I can check on it.
I believe she said 10 o'clock, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Ashley's going to double check.
Okay.
Says 11 to 12:30.
11 to 12:30. Okay, perfect. That's right, because Heather's tech class is at 10, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you can have Heather's tech class for commands, which I think everyone in here and on Zoom would benefit by going to as many of those classes as you can go to. Because command is so big and is so all encompassing that you're never going to know all of it. So with that said, don't get overwhelmed, okay? Don't go into command and be like, there's so much that I can do, I don't even know where to start. Yeah. Stephanie's favorite saying is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's how I would tell people to tackle command, one thing at a time. For example, first thing you should know, learn how to do and figure out how to do is putting in your database, contacts into the database. And then once you get some contacts into the database, then figure out, oh, well, how do I do smart plans? Figure out smart plans. And then maybe do some designs for open houses or for new listings, someone else's listings. I promise you, basically every realtor in the office here has said that you can share their listings and you can market their listings. I don't know of anyone, maybe there is, but I don't know of anyone in the office that has said you can't market their listings and share their listings. So even if you don't have listings yourself, there's still a way for you to market yourself and try to pick up buyers. And especially if you're doing it on social media, the trick is in the beginning to look busier than you actually are.
So many people are like, did you sell that one house? And I was like, not my listing, but yeah.
It's sold.
Yeah, it's sold.
Yep. That's the whole fake it till you make it.
Yeah,
That's like I shared what a listing, well, Jennifer had, and someone was like, oh, that's a good listing for your first listing, and I
Yeah.
just love the comment, oh, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
at the bottom it says, listing here to see if Jennifer Rush, but
There you go. There's nothing wrong with that. Because a lot of the struggle that new realtors have is someone getting the feeling that you don't know what you're doing.
That's the advantage of being old.
Right.
Ever. It's not true. I have no idea. They say, well, I know you've done this a long time. Oh, sure have.
Sure, of course.
Long enough.
I can tell you this, whenever I got into the business in the very beginning, in 2006, I was 30. I had literally just turned 30. And apparently I looked like I was 20. So my biggest struggle for the first couple of years, literally the first couple of years, was people were, well, we want a seasoned agent. We want someone that's sold several houses. And I would have to overcome that. And, well, you know, I would have to go, you know, I'm 32, right? And I've sold 50 houses. So, you know, and especially on social media, friends and old coworkers or family members, they don't know that those listings that you're posting aren't yours. 14 years later, my family is still like, just what you said. Oh, did you sell that house and more? Sure did. It's sold.
It's not on the market anymore.
Okay, so we had had someone scheduled to come in, and she got tied up with taxes. So she's not gonna be able to make it. So I'm gonna open it up, kind of what are you guys dealing with? What's the struggle? What's something good that's happened in the last couple weeks, last week or whatever? Somebody share something.
I had something good. You know what it is? Had a builder call me, said, hey, we've got a common client. I said, okay, who is it? And he told me. I said, yeah, he's coming to town Saturday. Comes to town Saturday, gets the house, I have to do nothing. Sign my name, everything's done for me. Now, that's the way to do it. No paperwork, have my LTC.
Right.
Except it's them. First I wrote Brian and said, is this for real? Do they really do everything? Because he said, you don't have to do anything at all. And I'm like, oh, hey, that's the way to do it.
And they have the contract that says you get 3% and everything?
Yep.
You just put
your
sign out in the yard?
The
No,
listing-
no.
No, it's a builder.
It's a builder. There's-
So if
Yeah.
you guys have someone looking for new construction and they can afford it, Homes by Tabor is a hell of an option.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
They build great houses. They add a lot of the upgrades and amenities that a lot of builders charge extra for. Now, Homes by Tabor isn't cheap by any means. The buyers are really paying for the upgrades that they're getting. It's just, Homes by Tabor is just, it's just not an upgrade, quote unquote upgrade. You know, they have tile floors, they have granite counters,
They
they have storm
security systems.
shelters,
They have a
security
security
systems.
system for 6 months.
Garage door opener.
Most of their neighborhoods have a fireplace on the patio, in a covered patio.
Yeah, this one does.
Sprinkler systems, I mean, everything that a buyer typically asks for from the builder, it's already included.
Storm shelter.
Yeah.
Blinds.
Storm
Blinds.
shelter should
Yeah.
already be included.
Little things like blinds. You would be amazed if you're selling a new home and there's no blinds up. You have to remember to ask the builder's rep, are blinds included or ask the buyer, do you have your own blinds? Because if you think about it, new construction, 2,000 square foot house-ish, may have 15 windows. And blinds aren't cheap anymore. I mean, you're buying a new house for $280,000-ish. Are you gonna buy the $4 blinds from Walmart? No. So, you know, the blinds could be $2,500, $3,000.
You want the 2-inch wood lines,
Yeah, you want the 2-inch solid wood blinds.
3-inch.
Yeah.
Some shutters. If you want the ones that you just push up.
Yes,
Yeah.
with no cords.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so guess what? $35, $40 a blind per. And some of those windows take 2 blinds.
Some of them are custom.
Yeah. And Homes by Tabor includes that. And other builders, that's a $2,500 upgrade.
They include the storm shelter. Other builders just.
Other builders charge extra
For
for that.
our price.
And what you have to remember and think about as the buyer's realtor is if a builder is saying, we can put in this storm shelter for $3,000, okay, great. But that also means that it costs that builder $2,200 to put it in.
You can put it in after you move in for 22.
Yeah, you can put it in after you move in. If you got the money, if your buyer has the money and or can get a loan, because I know a lot of credit unions have storm shelter loans. I've talked to lots of people that use like Tinker Federal Credit Union and Weoki for their storm shelter loan. So it's an option. But with Homes by Tabor and a few other builders, it's just included.
So I have a question, she said, there's no paperwork, is that for every builder?
No,
Okay,
absolutely
because
not.
I swear I was working with, well, we did end up going in that direction, but I had a buyer looking at houses in Yukon, that builder out in Yukon, I can't think of his name. And I think I had some paperwork together if we were to do the deal, and I was gonna have to do a few things. What was it that, I can't even remember, what would you normally need to submit to a builder?
So a builder, new home contract.
Okay.
Or a custom contract if the home's not completed yet. And then the disclosures if they have them. And proof of funds or the pre-approval letter. Then the loan docs if they're getting a loan. So it's just like a regular purchase contract. Just you have to use the new construction contract. Some builders, not all of them, some builders, if your buyer talks to them and forgets to mention your name, you're cut out of that deal, man. You're not making any money.
And they called me.
Homes by Tabor called her.
So did, on another sale, it was on back at Case, back at work. In another sale, they, it was Home Creations.
Home
And she
creation.
called me and said, hey, we have a common long story in that one, but they called me too.
The three builders that I know that are really good about working with realtors, and if a client goes in and they mention your name, they're not gonna cut you out. The three builders I know of that are real good about that is Homes by Neighbor, Home Creation, and Ideal Homes. Those three, there's a pretty good chance that unless the buyer just totally forgets your name, you're not gonna get cut out of the deal.
But you know that construction,
Not a thing. Not a thing.
build a nice house.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of builders out there, so we're never gonna know all of them.
Yeah,
It's just, and they come and go. And the crazy thing is a builder can get in trouble, get in over their head, they can file bankruptcy, and then usually a few months later, they can just start a new LLC, a new construction company, get registered with the Home Builders Association, and start over. So with that, we're never gonna know every one of them. Good thing about Google and internet and Facebook is you can look up a lot of builders and get some information. So if you have a client that's asking, oh, have you heard about this builder? No, but I can do some research. It's easy to find out. So another good thing that happened within this last week is someone in the office actually made a phone call to a FISBO
Yeah.
and set an appointment within like 5 minutes.
I was ready to do my spiel. I go, hi, my name is Courtney Pack. I'm the management of just doing the thing. And I was like, is this property still available? And she goes, yeah, you want to come see it? And I go, sure, sure do. What? Yeah. What time is? I can be there in 5 minutes. Could you be there in 5 minutes? Yeah. I'm on my way right now, I guess. And it was just so. I was like, it's not. I'm missing something. He goes, no. Sometimes it's just that easy. I was like, oh.
So she showed up, talks while she was looking at the house and letting the seller do her spiel and telling her everything that she's done. She's like, she simply asked, so, have you thought about using your realtor? No, I haven't got that far.
That's all she said. I was
And,
like,
and then she was like, oh, well, I'd love to help you get this house sold. Okay, let's do it.
I was like, what? Okay. Wow. I mean, okay. I said, well, talk to you soon. Bye. It was so weird. And I said, over the contract.
It's not normally that easy.
No, it was
And-
so
and-
weird.
And I totally get it, but when she came back to the office, she was
You had to like tell me to send
asking-
contracts.
asking about this. Should I set up another appointment with her? Should I call her? Should I do this? Should I do that? And I finally said, no, take yes for an answer.
I was like, but it's
She
not.
said yes.
And it probably shows you her personality too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, all
Now I
the
know how to talk to her.
personalities, yes,
Very direct, very,
but simple.
Yes.
Not probably picky at all.
yes, she's a high D. She doesn't have any fluff, just give me the facts, be direct.
Sell my house.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And I'll sell it for however much you want me to. Yeah, she was right on the dot with selling it, that price, $425.
Yeah,
So where's the house?
$425,000
Brookhaven.
business.
Brookhaven, okay, good luck. We'll share it.
Me too.
Wait, I said it live.
I go, what did you just say? Really quick, I promise. What did you
Yes.
just say?
The funny thing is, it's probably gonna take longer for her to get ready for the professional pictures than it will for you to get it sold.
Yeah, because she has some clutter.
So what's the market like for that house? It goes
It was
fast, right?
Yeah, it was pretty accurate. Wasn't sure a little bit. I thought maybe a little lower, like 400,000 or 425, but she put in so many updates, like little things, like she put in misters outside, which brings, if you're ever to misters, it's like 10 degrees cooler. She put a privacy thing. I mean, she just put so much into it that it's worth that extra 25,000, you know? Yeah. So we're at, she's kind of ghosted me a little bit, but I got her to apply yesterday. We're back on track.
So she can move.
Yes, she already has her other house, but it's in Fountain View or something. She's still being built, and I think she's gonna move in with her boyfriend or something in the meantime, but yeah. She's already, and I was like, so do you need to buy a house? Can I help you with that too? She's like, no, we close on that this week.
Is that probably right?
Yeah, that would've been great.
So that tells you, hey,
It was the only person I called that day.
you call
The only
so
person-
sometimes it is that easy. Not always, sometimes it's that easy. But you're never going to run into something that's that easy that you're just gonna fall into if you don't even make the phone call.
Yeah.
How do you determine how long you get to keep the listing? You just negotiate?
I always write my listing agreements, no matter what. Not no matter what, but no matter how quickly I think it'll sell, I write my listing agreements for 6 months. And then I tell them the spiel with our office is, if you are not happy with me, my services, your situation changes and we need to take it off the market, you let me know, we'll take it off the market. This office and Peggy does not hold people hostage to the contract. The only thing that we do is it has to be a legitimate thing. So you can't have a seller sign a listing agreement with you, you do all the marketing, and then they figure out how to contact a buyer that was interested in the
And poach one of
property
your people.
and cut you out.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that we do that protects us. But other than that, we're not gonna hold people hostage.
Is that something that you just write into the contract or you just tell
I tell them,
The one contract I had somebody, it was saying, I had somebody sign, if you're not happy with me, I'm not gonna hold you, I'm not gonna hold your house, you want out the contract, I'm not gonna make you sell your house, or make you stay with me, I want the best for you. I want
yeah, that's part of Keller Williams' philosophy of win-win or no deal. It's gotta be a win-win or no deal. If you decide, oh, I'm just done with trying to sell this house, can we rent it out, or we just need to take a break, whatever. There's some brokers and some companies out there that will hold them hostage. Nope, you signed the 6-month deal. Contracts for 6 months. You can pay us to get out if you want. That's not what we do.
Do you use buyer broker agreements?
I use buyer
I guess that means
broker,
no.
I use buyer broker agreements. But the reason why I hesitated is, in my experience, they are, they're kind of worthless.
So I don't do them.
Because there's nothing that's gonna stop a buyer from signing that document with you, saying, I'm gonna use you as my realtor. And this agreement is good for 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, however long you wrote it for. And then go to an open house on Sunday, talk to a realtor that happens to be there, not tell them a word about it, or flat out lie if that realtor said, are you working with someone? No. There's nothing that's gonna stop them from doing that, and then that's not that other realtor's fault that they weren't told or that they were lied to. So if that happens, it sucks. And I get it, because it's happened to me. But you're not very likely to get paid to go after that other realtor for their commission. That was my buyer. They signed a buyer broker agreement. That $4,000 in commission you're making, that's mine. That's not very likely to happen. The buyer broker agreement is more usable in our cases for other realtors that are out there purposely trying to steal clients. Unfortunately, there are some shady people out there. There are some used car salesmen out there in the real estate world that's going to try to steal your client. They're gonna say, well, if you use me, I can get you a better deal than if you use your realtor. I can tell you what the seller is really gonna take. Or, this is an actual real scenario. This realtor convinced these buyers to use her, the listing realtor, instead of their realtor. And she said, I will cut my commission and get you a better deal. Because I can cut my commission and we can get the seller to go lower. Well, she didn't cut her commission.
Oh, she didn't?
She didn't. Didn't even cut her commission.
Well, I knew about a lady that did that, and the person she stole them from was family. And that Thanksgiving, I guess, wasn't very good that year.
I bet you it wasn't.
She did do it, she did cut the commission, but that just doesn't seem right.
It's not.
Now it popped off.
It's not. That is textbook crossing the sign. And you as a realtor can be fined, potentially lose your license, and probably be asked to leave the office if you purposely do that. So if you're talking to a buyer or a potential buyer at an open house or whatever, what's the first question we always say to ask? Are you working with another realtor? If the answer is no, take it at face value. Okay, great.
People are weird.
Are you good? Are you?
What's the guy?
Well, and I think I worked with a few already, you know when they wanna buy, and when they don't wanna buy. If they're gonna buy, and they're like, okay, we're choosing you, and, you know, like, you can tell, or they just flake on you and they ghost you,
Yeah.
then you just kind of walk away.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, well, like me the other day, I had a girl in the salon and like her hairdresser was asking her, because she said that she wanted to buy a house, and I turned around and said, who's your realtor? And she told me her name and I said, oh gosh, she didn't tell you that she quit real estate? Yeah, and so I was like, I mean, I'll help you, like, as long as you didn't sign an agreement with her, I'll more than welcome to help you. And so she said, okay, and at 11:30 on Wednesday night, I got an email from Skylar asking me how I got that client, because she works at Skylar's office. And I was like, oh gosh, if I got myself in trouble, I'm gonna freak out. Like, 11:30 night, I'm like having a panic attack. And so I just flat out told her, I was like, she told me who her real estate agent was. I told her that she quit. She told me that she didn't sign a broker's agreement, so I thought that she was fair game. But she technically
She
was.
was fair game.
She was fair game, but she was like, I'm just trying to fill in all the cracks that my buyer's agent left me, and I'm like, oh gosh. I mean, like, that was my first offer that I ever wrote, and I'm like, if this comes back and bites me, like, I'm gonna freak out.
Yeah, well, if they're saying, no, I'm not with X, Y, and Z, then they're gonna say that to whoever asked them, you know?
Yeah.
There's no,
Yeah.
right, and that's what you're saying is, if
So
yeah,
again, the buyer broker agreement
like you're saying, it's
is more useful to us as proof against another realtor against a shady realtor
But
that's
if-
stealing clients.
But if she did sign that buyer broker agreement with an agent, and then the agent quit, is that like, and I got her out of the client, like, who does that come back on?
Nobody,
Nobody?
she's your client.
Okay,
If she made her
Somebody's gonna have to
license,
get her.
if she quit the business and she made her license inactive, an inactive realtor is not allowed to receive a commission.
which I never looked to see if she put her
Well-
license inactive or not, but
Usually if they quit the business, they do because they don't want to have to pay any other dues. Any other, because if you don't make your license inactive, guess what? the real estate commission and the MLS and whatever board you are gonna go ahead and send you a bill. And if you don't wanna pay that, you have to make your license inactive.
So I was asking Kay this yesterday, and I think I know my answer, but it was about expireds and released properties.
Uh-huh.
And I ran into one, and it was somebody in our office, it was a released property.
Okay.
And I have somebody looking, and so I called them instead of called the realtor instead of calling the owner. What would you do in that situation? Would you call the realtor?
Someone in our office, I would absolutely call that realtor. Someone in another office, not necessarily an obligation. If you can find that owner's name and phone number, that's not necessarily an
Yeah.
obligation.
That's kind of,
But sometimes on released, there's a reason it was released. Released typically is, we, the realtor, released the clients from the contract. So that could be a whole range of things. They changed their mind, decided not to sell. The bank's foreclosing, someone died. I mean, there's a whole range of things. They fired that client for being crazy. You never know. Or they just, could be the owners requested to be released because they thought the realtor was being lazy and not doing the job well enough. So that's why here in this office, if it's someone in this office, I'm gonna call that realtor. Like, what's up with this? Why did it get released? I've got a client that's interested. Are they interested in still selling? And I had that with a realtor in the office, and I called her, and she said, oh, well, he gave up, he moved out of state, and he's just gonna let the bank take it back. He's not interested in selling. Okay, well, I'm not gonna waste my time trying to track down that guy.
well, it's good to know because you kind of don't learn these things until you do them, you know?
Right.
And as new as, new, and I don't want to look like I just threw myself into a new agent, new agents, we do all the things wrong.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that was received by other,
Right.
agents, because that's the way they're doing things too. Because you kind of want to do things, like you're saying, ethically in the office.
Right.
If we're all doing that, then I wanted to know.
Right. But like I said, if it's Remax, downsize, something like that, and you can get a hold of that seller, there's nothing wrong. It's released. They're no longer under contract. You're not crossing the sign. They're not under contract with them anymore. They have released them from that contract. So there's nothing ethically wrong with calling that, if you can get a hold of their number, calling them and be like, hey, are you interested in selling still?
I had a person come to an open house, speaking of liars, this is so weird. He comes to an open house and he says, that I was doing for somebody else, and he says, well, can you find out how the air conditioner is and the plumbing along the property and something, all three things? So I said, yeah, I'll find, this is after fill out the sheet, no, I'm not working with a realtor. I said, sure, I'll find out. So I called Steve Webb and I said, hey, blah, 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 all this stuff on this property. And he says, whatever the answers were. So I called the guy back, and oh, that's great, okay, I'll be back with you, blah, blah, blah. That afternoon, and he put his address on his current address on the thing. That afternoon, his house comes on the market with Steve Webb. He was Steve Webb all along, and he lied.
He lied to you. Yeah.
And I got all the information, why didn't he have Steve Webb? Because they were obviously clearly already working, because the contract came on the market at noon.
Right.
I just thought you worked for him.
How weird. How weird.
Maybe he thought you were on Steve's
Maybe
team.
so, it was just.
I feel like people try to get as much information as they can, like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I can get a better deal with her, maybe she has something better to offer, or, I think maybe that's.
They just don't know.
They just don't
They
know,
just
they're like,
don't
we're
know.
trying to be ethical right now.
Sometimes
Please just tell me.
sometimes they think they can get a better deal with the listing realtor.
Yes.
And what they don't understand is if we have a listing agreement, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our clients. Which means, and it says in the listing agreement, I can't do or say anything that's going to put someone in an advantage over you, because you're my client. So if I have a listing for $200,000 and that seller has told me, look, we just gotta get out of this. If someone writes me an offer for 185, I'm gonna take it. You can't share that with a potential buyer. But some people think that we can and will. And ethically, we're not supposed to, because that's our client. We have the responsibility to them.
A lot of people, I had to say that, I want to work with the listing broker outlet. Because they can work a deal better, okay?
Okay.
But no, they can't. But I'm
Sometimes
not
you
gonna
get
argue with you.
I promise you, sometimes you get a better deal
Yeah,
when you're not working with the listing
Yeah.
broker. Because I've had situations where I've had listings where it was much easier to get the seller to cooperate and maybe come down a little bit on their price because it was another agent that brought the offer. Because how is a seller gonna perceive you if you have it listed for $200,000 and this buyer is maybe an investor, maybe they've watched too much HGTV, and they want to bring an offer of $150,000. That's an insult to most sellers. How are they going to perceive you? Well, I thought you were working for me.
I thought you worked for me, right?
Yeah.
That's
you work for me.
embarrassing too.
Yeah. But you could say, well, you know, this other realtor brought this offer. This is the offer that they brought. Here's the net sheet. What do you want to do? And because it's another realtor, they're more likely to say, oh, well, we're not taking 150, but let's counter back at something more reasonable. And they're more willing to cooperate. Because you don't want to create a hostile environment for your clients. Okay, anybody else got anything?
You go first.
Okay, I've had questions about how we could look for foreclosures and how do you dive into that?
Okay,
Because I'm like, I looked at them like, I don't know, we'll look into that. And we ended up looking at, 5 other houses and
Right.
they never asked me the question again, but.
Use your foreclosure fellow.
Okay,
Well, I
so-
know, so then
Yeah.
I'm like, we need a class on foreclosures, is what I'm gonna get in, right?
I typically do a foreclosure class every quarter. So foreclosures. The thing about foreclosures is, they are always going to be eventually listed with a realtor. And as soon as the mortgage company that owns it has actually gone through their process and they are actually ready to sell it, it will be listed with a realtor. So the best place to find foreclosures is the MLS. Sometimes they don't like that answer. But you can do the search in the MLS and you can, I think it's under terms affecting the sale. I think you can, there's an REO
Okay, I'm
option.
trying to like picture it.
Me too.
Okay,
Like at the bottom. Like, or not.
Is that under the special circumstances?
I'm gonna look it up right now.
have you found that Cleveland County Assessor is behind on updating their properties? Do you know,
Behind,
like updating the sales?
usually it takes them a couple days. Downsize that so y'all don't have to stare at my chin.
It was like late at
That's the
night.
one, is that the marshal sale or sheriff's sale?
Conditions affecting sale, right here. Can y'all see that?
Okay, so
When you click on
how do you find that again? Oh,
the add and remove button right here, I think you have to.
Yeah, add and remove.
I see.
So if you don't have that already on your thing, see REO/bank owned.
I didn't get that.
So if you don't already have that saved to your search, you do add and remove and then search for conditions affecting sale. And I'm just going to show you what that looks like. There's 38 in the entire MLS that's active. See this matches 38? Boom. These are all foreclosures. And these are also everywhere.
Can they go for that price, list price? Is that, how does that work?
Foreclosures typically go for the list price or a little above, typically. Depends on where it's at. If it's a foreclosure in a small rural area like Maysville, it may go for a little bit less. But if it's a foreclosure in Norman or more, there's more competition.
People are
It's probably going to go for that price or higher.
People are under the misconception that foreclosure is a deal.
No.
And that good one, you're this,
So
that's
yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
So how are they listed?
Part of my foreclosure class is the first thing I tell a potential buyer that's asking me about foreclosures is it may not be the deal that you think it is, because if you're getting it for, say, $20,000 below the full market value of what the house should be worth if it wasn't a foreclosure, but there's $35,000 worth of repairs that's needed, did you really get a deal?
And
You're
do banks-
$10,000 upside down on that
So how do
scenario.
banks-
Do banks usually sell as is?
Always, as is. As is, no repairs,
So that's kind of cash buyer.
Maybe.
maybe. I've sold tons with conventional financing, even FHA financing.
So what if it needed something in inspections, like a roof?
They have to be willing to do that after closing because it's not their property. The bank's not going to make that repair. The philosophy and the theory is banks have the house listed at its, what they've determined its market value is, considering all the known repairs. So if the roof is bad and it's obvious that the roof is bad, they're going to have an estimate that says, okay, well, the roof can be replaced for, say, $8,000.
But they're not there.
They're not going to do it,
So you can
but they're
get-
going to knock that off of what their
Can you get
value
that
is.
loan, the FHA loan, know it needs to be repaired, but it's not insurable?
That
Get it
is,
done after closing?
that is something that can be done, and that is something that's, you need to work with the right loan officer to be able to get that done correctly.
I knew it was possible.
It is.
Okay,
But if your buyer, let me tell you this, if your buyer is talking about potentially looking at foreclosures and they're pre-approved with Bank of Oklahoma, Arvis Bank, Bank of America, tell them, forget it. Your loan officer's never gonna let it go through. It's not gonna get approved. Not gonna get approved. Because they just don't do those. They just don't do it.
because they want the work done before closing.
Yes.
Okay,
And if it's not willing to be done before closing, then the deal's busted.
so they write the check, say $9,000, they're gonna write the check to X roofing company
So
at closing, and then you pay for it after closing?
it is, for FHA, it is repair escrows. Repair escrows can go up to $10,000. And the repair amounts and what has to be repaired is solely determined by the appraiser. The appraiser makes that call and what they think
how much it's gonna be. So if,
Okay. so
in your,
there's factors
in your
that
scenario,
That makes,
you do the inspections, then the appraiser's gonna go out there and say, yep, this roof is shot, it's gotta be replaced. I'm gonna require, $7,000, $8,000 in repair escrows. As long as it's under 10, it can potentially still go FHA. And the way they do it, and why I'm saying you have to have the right loan officer, the way they do it is they put that dollar amount in a repair escrow that's held by either their bank or the title company. The repairs are done after closing, and then the contractor is paid out of that escrow.
And so do these people, when they do that, say you're buying a house that needs a roof,
Mhm.
is your lender loaning you the money for the roof? Is that included in the loan?
Yeah, it's gonna be included in the loan.
so.
It is added to the loan.
So say if it's, you get 10,000, but your repairs were 9,500, where's that 500 go?
Buys down the principal.
Okay.
They don't use the full escrow.
Okay.
But if you use more than the escrow, you're coming out of pocket for the difference. So in your scenario, if they tear the roof off and they're like, oh, well, some of this decking has rotted out, and we've got to replace it, it's more like $12,000. Well, you gotta make up the difference out of your own pocket.
Is conventional the same?
Conventionals, the dollar amount may not be the same, but it's the same scenario and the same situation. It's held in an escrow account and done after closing.
How much can you get in escrow on a conventional?
That's depends on the loan officer and whatever program that they're having. There's no specific set dollar amounts for, like FHA could be up to $10,000. Conventional, there's no set program. It's just called a rehab loan, and the banks, they typically hold that until the repairs are done, and then refinance it and maybe sell the loan to someone else after that's done. But that's why there's no set dollar amount and no set situation or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's an in-house rehab loan program that Bank First, whatever, McLean Bank, whatever it is, that's a program that they are offering and they have, and they're gonna set the parameters and they're gonna approve it.
What does that do to your loan to value on your appraisal? What if you were putting minimum down and the house appraised blah, blah, blah?
Well,
except
usually
for the roof?
the loan programs that I've seen, the conventional rehab programs that I've seen, the way for banks protect themselves is they make the buyer put down at least 10%.
That's what I thought. They had to do something to cover it.
Yes, they gotta do something to protect themselves.
To have a conventional loan, you're going to put that, risk, right?
No, there's 3%,
Oh, that's true, that is true.
and hell, at one point, there was 100% loans that were conventional. USDA is 100% down, it's 100% loan, but you're not gonna get USDA for a house that needs repairs.
It's all non USDA.
Most of it, not all of it.
I know we have office listings in Noble that are like new builds, and I didn't know that would be.
It's gotta be within a certain distance away from a population of 50,000 or more. So it's gotta be a certain distance, whatever the parameter is. I don't know but it's gotta be a certain distance away from, say, Norman
Okay.
or Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Or more. I know that in this area, rural Norman, Little Axe area is gonna qualify. Rural Blanchard, but city of Blanchard may not qualify. It may be too close to Norman. But rural Blanchard, Tuttle is gonna qualify. Definitely Pauls Valley, that general area, Purcell, is gonna qualify, stuff like that. But they have a website, USDA has a website where you can put in an address. Ah,
No, maybe.
I don't know what the population is.
Yeah, it's not. Well, I saw.
I don't think the population in Guthrie is 50,000, but it also depends on how close you are to Edmond. And then you got Stillwater on the other side.
So if a house is like on auction.com or these other, third party sites, how does a foreclosure on our end deal with, like if someone is like, oh, I saw this on auction?
Yeah, it's listed in the MLS somewhere.
It's in the MLS and they're getting it, right? They're getting it on their side?
Yeah.
Is that how?
And what you have to worry about with auction websites is the buyer has to is paying a premium, and it's usually a 5% premium that's added on top of it. So if they're bidding $100,000, they're really bidding $105,000 because there's a 5% fee that they are charged. And guess what that 5% pays for? Oh, that 5% pays the realtor fees because the listing realtor's getting 2%, buyer realtor's getting 3%.
And we'll know that through the MLS, that we don't even have to touch.
The MLS will say bids are accepted on auction.com or hubzoo.com or whatever website they've got it on. And you've got to go to that website and read the fine print.
Okay, but it will be on MLS.
It'll be,
so we don't have to go searching.
Right.
The, internet.
Right. So if it's active and actually available, it's in the MLS.
It's good to
And
know.
if they want a different website to find find foreclosures because they're just not accepting your answer, tell them to go to HUD's website, HUDhomestore.com, and Fannie Mae's website is homepath.com.
Yes, I was on home.
Those two. And then there's going to be some random listings, maybe Bank of America is going to have some, but they're not going to have any in Oklahoma because they're in the MLS.
So Bank of America is listed on MLS.
Yeah.
They're all listed on.
Wells Fargo is going to be listed in the MLS.
So they're not gonna find anything that we're not already seeing. basically.
Exactly.
And then when somebody says they're a foreclosure specialist, so am I.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Pretty convenient.
I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not a specialist that you can get, but it's good to know. You see that, call your foreclosure specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. I have an appointment in Edmonds. So sorry I can't hang around and talk with you or stretch this class any further. Next class will be a little bit more productive.
Today was
I mean,
very knowledgeable. I think we got a lot of today.
good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Make your contacts.
Wait, Courtney, let us know when that goes live.
FaceTime some freaking comments.